My name is Lisa Boldman, and presenting with me today is Nicole Barnes. We are financial aid coordinators here at TMCC. Our presentation today is called Information to Action because we will provide you with the background information you will need to help your seniors take action and transition to college.
Today, we will cover the cost of attendance and student budget, the types and sources of financial aid, how to apply for financial aid, discuss the important dates, deadlines, and requirements in order to receive aid, and at the end of our presentation, we will have our information available for you to send us your questions.
Some key terms used in financial aid are FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The FAFSA is required for requesting federal aid from higher education institutions. EFC, Expected Family Contribution, equals the amount the government thinks you should be able to contribute toward your educational expenses annually. This is not an actual payment due. SAI, Student Aid Index. This term will replace the EFC, or Expected Family Contribution, in the 2024-2025 aid year. Similar to the EFC, consideration for government aid will be determined by this number. The key difference will be that the SAI can be a negative number, whereas the EFC has a minimum of 0. Aid year. The aid year starts in the fall and continues into the following semesters: winter, spring, Summer 1, and Summer 2. Students should apply in October for the following fall start date, which begins in August. Prior year. Prior year refers to the documentation that is used for the FAFSA being from 2 years before the start of attendance. For example, financial documentation and taxes from 2021 used for the 2023-2024 FAFSA.
The cost of attendance, or COA, has 5 standard parts that are chosen by the Department of Education: tuition and fees, books and supplies, room and board, transportation, and personal expenses. 2 of the parts are directly related to the school the student attends. Those are tuition and fees and books and supplies. These costs come from attending school. The other 3 parts are indirect because the student is likely to have these expenses whether or not they attend school. These 3 pieces are room and board, transportation, and personal expenses. These vary by student, but there is a standard amount that is budgeted for in the student's cost of attendance.
When students consider attending college, the overall cost of attendance must be taken into account. For example, there are costs of tuition, books, transportation, room and board, etc. Fees will vary from college chosen, location of the school, and the dependency status, dependent or independent, of the student. Key terms Part 3. Cost of attendance versus student budget. A student may not receive a combined total in financial aid that is greater than their cost of attendance. This means that all grants, scholarships, loans, or work-study awards combined cannot exceed the cost of tuition, fees, books, transportation, etc. Further, there are forms of financial aid that are considered need-based. Any need-based aid cannot exceed the following formula: need equals cost of attendance minus EFC. So what does that mean? Let's first define what the EFA is and follow by discussing an example. EFA, or Estimated Financial Assistance, is the amount of financial assistance a student is expected to receive. Students who have an EFC above their cost of attendance are not eligible for need-based aid. If the combination of the EFC and EFA is above the cost of attendance, the student is no longer eligible for any aid. However, if the cost of attendance is greater than the combination of EFC and EFA, the student is still eligible to receive funding. Now for that example. Let's say the student has a cost of attendance of $12,000 and the FAFSA generates an EFC of $3,000. This leaves $9,000 worth of need-based aid that the student can receive, such as the Pell Grant, subsidized loans, other grants, etc. The other $3,000 can still be received through any aid that is not need-based, such as scholarships or unsubsidized loans. Therefore, the student can receive their full cost of attendance in aid, with $9,000 being need-based and $3,000 not being need-based.
Now let's take a look at how to read the award letter. Once a student has their FAFSA sent to TMCC and it has been reviewed, we will send them an award letter. This letter is based on full-time enrollment at first and is then adjusted based on the actual enrollment level. In this example, you will see the fall and spring semester costs broken into columns, followed by the annual cost of attendance. Below that, you will see the total financial aid offer for the year. The difference, or unmet estimated costs, is the amount that the student and their parent or guardian will need to pay out of pocket toward all of the costs listed. However, it is important to keep in mind that the costs are only estimated and only the tuition and fees are paid directly to the school. Therefore, any aid above the tuition, fees, and books can be used toward the normal costs of living associated with college attendance, such as room and board and transportation. In this section of the award letter, you will see a detailed breakdown of the aid this student was offered. They were offered the Pell Grant, a scholarship, loans, and grants. They are listed both per semester as well as in total for the year. If more aid is received or if the student becomes ineligible for a certain part of their aid package, the award letter will be adjusted accordingly. You can see here that the student originally had work-study eligibility, but that has been canceled out to 0. Work-study eligibility merely shows what the student may earn through the work-study program, should they choose to use it. Once they decide to get a work-study position, they will be issued a specific work-study award from one of 3 funds. This student now has TMCC need work-study instead of work-study eligibility. The final section of the award letter is the important messages section. Here we break down what the student is awarded and in most cases the requirements for keeping that award.
Now that we have covered the basics, let's move into the types and sources of financial aid that are available. First, there are grants, which are free money that can be awarded to qualified students. Next, there are scholarships, which are free or earned funds that do not require repayment. We will go more in depth about these funding sources later in the presentation. Then there's work study, which is money earned by the student employees. Finally, there are loans, which are borrowed funds that must be repaid.
To give you all an idea of the breakdown and differences between funding sources, let's take a look at what options are available to the students and how they can be obtained. There's the federal funding sources option, which would be the Pell Grant, Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, Work Study, and Direct Stafford Loans. The Pell Grant is income-based, which all students may not be eligible for. However, there are other awards that the students may qualify for, so it is our job to encourage all students to complete their FAFSA despite the fact that their estimated family contribution may disqualify them from the Pell Grant. Students who are ineligible for the Pell Grant may qualify for other grants or scholarships that are not income-based. The Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant is awarded to qualified undergraduate students with exceptional need. Work study is also an option for your students who are interested in this opportunity. By choosing to become a work study student, funds will be earned in the form of a paycheck, which may be used to pay for housing costs, tuition, books, and other expenses associated with student life. To further assist students with their financial needs, Direct Stafford loans are also available for those students who may qualify. Keep in mind that unlike work study, scholarships, or grants, the loans awarded must be repaid by the student. The state of Nevada also has funding for students. These funds are regulated very similarly to federal aid. However, the requirements are different. The Silver State Opportunity Grant is a grant of up to $5,500 that is designed to fill in the remaining need of students while encouraging them to finish their education at a standard pace of 15 credits per semester. The Millennium Scholarship pays $40 per credit for up to 15 credits each semester to eligible students at TMCC. It can be utilized for up to $10,000 over the 6 years following the student's graduation from high school. A common misconception is that students can use as much of the $10,000 that they'd like to each year. But in actuality, the per credit limits are strict, and they vary by the type of school and type of degree the student is seeking. The Nevada Promise Scholarship is fairly new to Nevada, but has the generous aim of providing tuition-free community college to Nevada students. It is what is considered a last dollar scholarship. This means that the amount the student is awarded is calculated based on their tuition, minus any other financial aid they are receiving. If a student is not receiving any other aid, the student's tuition is covered in full by the Nevada Promise Scholarship. Just keep in mind that this does not include some fees. The next sources of financial aid we'd like to talk about are institutional and private aid. These resources are from the school and any other institution outside of the state or federal government. This type of aid can be income-based, not income-based, merit-based, or even target specific student groups. At TMCC, we have the incentive grants. The incentive grants target first-time, full-time freshman students. They are awarded up to $1,500 per semester as long as they meet the enrollment requirements and have been placed in the first-time, full-time freshman cohort. This award is renewable throughout their education at TMCC as long as they continue to meet those enrollment requirements. However, the funds are limited and are awarded to those who are enrolled, have completed their financial aid file, including the FAFSA, and respond to the incentive grants liaison first. The Adelante Grant and Green Door Scholarship target our DACA and undocumented student groups. The Adelante Grant is awarded at $500 per semester, and the Green Door Scholarship is awarded at $300 per semester. The requirements are slightly different, and an application is required. BIA and tribal scholarships are awarded to Native American students who apply for funding through a tribe, nation, or other Native American organization. The amount is determined by the organization and varies greatly. The foundation scholarships are managed by the TMCC Foundation and Grants Office. They are strictly for TMCC students and can range anywhere from $250 to $5,000 per year. A single application is required to apply for hundreds of scholarships at once. The application is available from January 1st through March 1st annually for funding the following fall. Therefore, seniors should apply this January. External scholarships are also available from many outside organizations. They can be searched for using scholarship databases or Google searches. However, we recommend that students apply for scholarships with smaller applicant pools, such as those offered by their employer, high school, or a club they belong to. We even maintain an external scholarship board on the TMCC website. This scholarship board houses scholarships and information from companies who have reached out to us stating that they would like our students to apply. We vet those organizations for legitimacy and to protect our students as well. The final and least recommended option is a private loan. These loans are offered by private organizations such as Sallie Mae or a bank. The amount can vary based on a student's credit and cost of attendance.
Now let's take action. At this time, we will walk you through the process of applying for financial aid so you will have the tools to help your students as needed. To begin, students will need to create an FSA ID and password in order to sign their FAFSA. This can be accomplished by visiting the studentaid.gov website and creating a username and password, also known as their Federal Student Aid ID. The FSA ID, username, and password are for the student only and should not be shared with anyone, including parents or spouses, as it is tied to their Social Security number. For dependent students, a parent must create a separate FSA ID since they are required to sign the student's FAFSA. This unique FSA ID must be linked to the parent's Social Security number and their own email address. If the parent does not have a Social Security number, they will not be able to create an FSA ID and will be prompted to sign the FAFSA using a paper signature page that is mailed to the Federal Student Aid Department. The required information for both student and parents will be their Social Security number, date of birth, and a valid email address. If there are students that you believe could use assistance with creating an FSA ID, as well as completing the FAFSA, please invite them to attend our annual upcoming event called FASTober, which will be held right here at the Dandini campus in the Sierra building on October 1st, 8th, and 22nd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. At this event, our entire financial aid staff will be available to assist students and their parents with creating their FSA IDs, completing their FAFSA, as well as answer any questions that they might have regarding this process. This event has an RSVP process, which is requesting that students register online for one or more of the available sessions. By submitting their FAFSA, students may receive potential awards such as the Pell Grant, Work Study, the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, the Silver State Opportunity Grant, and loans.
Let's talk about scholarships. Scholarships are an excellent way to pay for the rest of a student's cost of attendance if their aid package does not already fully cover their needs. Scholarships almost always have additional applications and requirements, but being prepared can ensure that students get through the applications efficiently. Here are some of the tips I've accumulated over the years. Make a scholarship profile and keep it in a folder on your computer or cloud drive. This profile should include their student aid report from the FAFSA because, believe it or not, many scholarship donors will ask for this as a means of determining whether or not they are receiving other financial aid. Not being eligible for aid can work in their favor in some cases. 2 or more letters of recommendation. Many scholarships ask for these, and they are also great for job applications as well. Transcripts will be handy as most applications will ask for the student's high school GPA and may require transcripts as proof. If a student does not have their final transcript yet, they can estimate on early applications, but they should be prepared to submit their transcript as soon as they have them available. Essays. Students should keep personal statements and essays about themselves handy, as writing about oneself is a common prompt for scholarship applications. They should also consider keeping copies of any writings they are proud of, as they can be idea starters for other scholarship prompts. Why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to? Finally, an activity resume is helpful to list out the extracurriculars a student has participated in. This makes it easy to reference when the scholarship inevitably asks what they have done for the community or what sports they've played, etc. They will also want to organize the scholarships they intend on applying for by the deadline. Missed deadlines and incomplete applications are the #1 reason a student will miss out on scholarship opportunities. Applications often open in October and close around March of their senior year. Of course, there are exceptions, but looking early is key. There are scholarships out there for all types of categories, activities, and characteristics. Here are a few of the most common. Athletic scholarships, merit-based scholarships, minority scholarships, scholarships by declared major, and even weird scholarships, such as creating a duct tape prom dress or writing about the zombie apocalypse. Students can also look into scholarships through different places instead of just by category. The different places to look can include their institution, local and regional organizations or companies, state organizations, databases or companies, and national databases. TMCC offers our foundation scholarships, and the application is open from January 1st through March 1st each year. This process allows students to apply for various scholarships with one simple application. Students do not have to be federal aid eligible to apply. TMCC also offers our FAFSA non-filers application, which is for students who are not eligible for financial aid through the FAFSA, usually for reasons related to citizenship. Local and regional organizations often have a scholarship application on their website. Some such organizations include the Reno Rotary, Nevada Women's Fund, the Elks Lodge, etc. Some scholarships are reserved only for Nevada residents. Some of those include scholarships issued by the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada, the Doyle Foundation, and more. The state of Nevada even has their own scholarship database. Finally, a Google search will take you to endless scholarship applications that are open to students all over the world and the United States. So, to help narrow down the search, here's a list of some of my favorite national scholarship search sites: Unigo.com, Scholarship America, and College Board. Now that the FAFSA process is covered, I will tell you about how to apply for the variety of funds we discussed earlier, which require more than just the FAFSA. I will also discuss their requirements. As mentioned before, the Foundation Scholarship is open from January 1st to March 1st annually. It requires a minimum GPA of 2.0, either in college or from high school, to take at least 6 credits, and to fill out the application in its entirety. The application generally takes less than 15 minutes to complete. External scholarships will require applications to be sent to the organization from which the student wishes to obtain funding. Essays, creative contests, or other measures may be used to determine eligibility. Students should list the scholarships they wish to apply for by their deadline to ensure they complete the requirements on time. We have been told that incomplete applications are a #1 reason students are disqualified from external scholarship awards. BIA and tribal awards are typically obtained on a need basis. A needs analysis form is turned into our office and then submitted to the tribal office. Most BIA awards require a student to have completed the FAFSA and a financial aid file before funding is determined. The Adelante and Green Door scholarships are applied for through an application that mimics some of the FAFSA questions. It can be found on our website under FAFSA non-filers. Taxes or statements of income will be requested based on the application, since the students with lower income are awarded first. The requirements for the Adelante grant are that a student must be enrolled in at least 6 credits, and those 6 credits must include math and English until their math and English requirements are met. For the Green Door Scholarship, only 3 credits are required, but math or English must be included until the math and English requirements are met. In addition, a thank you letter is required after the fall semester each year, or the student will be disqualified from receiving the scholarship in the spring. The Nevada Promise is a very beneficial scholarship for students who would not otherwise get enough aid to pay their tuition. However, there are 10 steps that must be fulfilled by each deadline in order to receive this scholarship. This scholarship is run by the Recruitment and Access Center. They work closely with applicants to help them meet the deadlines. The initial application must be submitted by midnight on October 31st. 2 of the other requirements do involve the financial aid department. Those are completing the FAFSA, which is due March 1st, and completing the rest of the financial aid file, including verification, which is due by June 1st. The full requirements are listed on our website underneath Nevada Promise.
If a student has applied for all other types of financial aid that TMCC offers, and they are still struggling to afford their education, a student loan application can be submitted to the TMCC Financial Aid Office for a federal loan or to the company of their choice for a private loan. Federal loans tend to have better interest rates and repayment options than private loans, and both require a student to be in at least 6 credits. The usual reason a student may opt for a private student loan is that they are not meeting satisfactory academic progress standards, which is required to receive a federal loan. Private loans must be certified by our office after they are approved by a private organization. Certification will require paperwork to be submitted by the student to our loan coordinator. But with all of the awesome aid available to TMCC students, we hope that they are able to avoid debt. What's next? How to follow up? Phew! Now that the student has all of the information needed to apply for various types of aid, let's move on to the process of following up on their applications. In the Communication Center in My TMCC, all pertinent information for the student is available, including award letters and satisfactory academic progress or SAP notifications, etc. In the My TMCC Student Center, you will see the Communication Center on the upper right-hand side. In order to maintain eligibility for financial aid, satisfactory academic progress, or SAP, requires the student maintain a 2.0 GPA or grade point average, complete 67% of the credits they attempt, and complete their degree without attempting more than 150% of the credits that degree requires. If there are any items requiring action on the part of the student, those notifications will be to-dos, and a detailed explanation of what is needed is available for the student's reference. It is strongly encouraged students regularly check their TMCC Gmail account daily to make sure they don't miss any important information or deadlines. Any holds on a student's account will also be available to view in the Communication Center. For example, a drop hold can be placed if the student has filed an appeal or is on academic probation. There are also notifications of any past due or account balances due. These must either be paid or a payment plan must be entered into in order to enroll in future classes. A payment plan can be arranged through TMCC's cashier's office.
After the FAFSA has been completed and submitted to the Department of Education, we encourage students to frequently check their TMCC email for updates on the status of their application. Once the FAFSA has been approved and sent to the school of their choice, the students will be able to review updates to their accounts to see if additional information is needed in order to process their FAFSA and receive aid. If the student receives a to-do list notice rather than an award letter in their TMCC email, the first step would be to log into their My TMCC account, click on the Student Center tab, and select their to-do list found on the right-hand side of the screen. Items listed in Box 1 are tasks that need to be completed in order for the FAFSA to be processed on the financial aid end. The most common task is verification, which is seen in Box 2. The student will be asked to complete their verification for the current aid year, which in this case would be 2022, and submit the requested documents to the financial aid office. The verification forms are digital and can be found using the link provided at the bottom of Box 2. In-person submissions of any documents that were not attached to the digital verification form are recommended. However, students may also submit their documents by mail or email. When doing so, students must provide their full legal name, student ID number, and the aid year that is being verified. For privacy reasons, students emailing their documents must use their TMCC email account or the documents will not be accepted. The verification process may take between 4 to 6 weeks to complete, so it is encouraged that students complete this task as soon as possible. We also have a helpful video tutorial to walk students and their parents through online verification forms in video format. This is available in our resources slide. In addition to checking their email, students are encouraged to review their account to ensure they are degree seeking. They can find this information in their My TMCC Student Center under Academic Requirements. If a report of classes is not generated, they are not degree seeking and will need to select a major before they can receive financial aid. This can be done when they first apply to the college on their admissions application or after they have been accepted by submitting an online degree/emphasis change form and submitting that to the Admissions and Records Office.
Finally, we are going to mention the most important piece of this presentation, which are the important dates and deadlines that students should be aware of. FAFSA officially opens on October 1st, so students may start applying for their FAFSA at that time. Next, the TMCC Foundation Scholarship applications are accepted from January 1st to March 1st annually. Priority deadlines are July 1st for the fall semester and December 1st for the spring semester. Federal fund disbursements cannot be made any earlier than 10 days prior to the start of the semester, so our institution is offering direct deposit as an option so that students may receive their funds sooner than they would if the funds were mailed to their address on file. If students receive more financial aid than the cost of their tuition and fees, they will be issued a refund for the difference. Refunds are issued every Thursday following the disbursement of financial aid. Students are encouraged to check with Admissions and Records Department regarding drop and withdraw dates. Drops generally result in a reduction to financial aid. If a student withdraws from a class or classes, this can impact future aid. It is imperative that the student contacts financial aid before adjusting their schedule to ensure that they understand the impact withdrawing or dropping classes can have on their financial aid package.
This slide is a list of different resources available to you to assist your students with their financial aid applications. Please click on the links to review the resources we have available.
Now that we've had an opportunity to share how your students can and will benefit from completing their FAFSA and how to apply for them, we will encourage you to send your following questions to financialaidoutreach@tmcc.edu or call the number on the screen below.